I never thought a quiet evening walk with my dog would end in the worst kind of nightmare. One minute, we were strolling down the edge of a wide-open field near my home, just like we always did. The next, a man in a security uniform, claiming to be with the HOA, stormed out of his truck, shouting that I was trespassing. Before I could even respond, things escalated fast. She said the land wasn't mine, that I had no right to walk there. I tried to explain, calmly, that I'd lived here for years and walked this path 100 times. But he wasn't listening. Then, in one awful moment, he pulled out his weapon. Yes, a weapon, and, before I could even react, my dog was gone. Just like that, the pain, the shock, and the helplessness hit me all at once. And what made it worse? The HOA backed him. They said he was within his rights. No apology, no accountability. Just cold, rehearsed statements about private property and community rules. That's when something inside me snapped. I wasn't just going to grieve. I was going to fight back with my mind, not my fists. So I started digging, researching, making calls. And what I discovered blew the whole situation wide open. Turns out, the HOA didn't own the land, not even close. And once I confirmed that, I made the biggest decision of my life. I bought the entire Valley Acre by a grand, turned the tables. The same stretch of land they tried to keep me off. Now it's mine. And the first thing I did, I permanently banned that entire HOA from setting foot on it again. But what came after that? Trust me, it wasn't as smooth as I thought. The power struggle had just begun. You won't believe how far they went to take back control. After I bought the valley, I thought things would quiet down. I figured the HOA would get the message and back off, especially since their so-called authority didn't reach beyond the small development they managed. But instead, the tension only got worse. A week after the purchase went through, I started noticing strange things. My mailbox was ripped open one morning. Another day, someone slashed the tires on my truck. At first, I thought it might just be random vandalism, but deep down, I knew it wasn't. The timing was too perfect, too targeted. Then came the anonymous letters typed, no return addressed, telling me I was destroying the community, that I didn't belong here. It was all so dramatic, like some low-budget drama, but it wasn't a show. This was my real life, and still, no one from the HOA came forward publicly. They hid behind rules, regulations, and emails signed with titles instead of names. It felt like they operated more like a secret club than a neighborhood organization. But what really got to me was how many people were scared to speak up. Neighbors who once smiled and waved started avoiding me. Some even crossed the street. When they saw me, I later learned the HOA had been warning them, spreading lies, painting me as some reckless outsider trying to destroy their way of life. But here's the thing, they underestimated how far I was willing to go to expose the truth. I started digging into their history, pulling property records, financial reports, even old meeting notes. And what I found was shocking. Hidden fees, shady contracts, threats to elderly homeowners. It was all there, buried under layers of silence and fear. This wasn't about my dog anymore. This was about power and how far some people will go to hold on to it. And I wasn't backing down. The deeper I looked, the uglier it got. I found out the HOA president wasn't just enforcing rules, he was profiting off them. He'd set up a private landscaping company that just happened to land every HOA contract, charging double the going rate. The so-called security team, including the man who confronted me, was hired through a buddy's firm and licensed, barely trained, and definitely not legal law enforcement. And the worst part? Most residents had no idea. They were just paying their monthly dues, trusting the board to manage things fairly. The truth was, they were being used. Controlled, I started documenting everything, every shady invoice, every manipulated vote. I even installed cameras around my property because, after the threats and vandalism, I wasn't taking chances. Meanwhile, I tried to talk to neighbors to warn them, but many were too scared. One elderly couple confided that they'd tried to challenge the HOA a few years back and suddenly got hit with back-to-back fines until they had to move out. Another family told me their kids weren't allowed to play outside because they didn't want to attract attention. It was heartbreaking, but while I was gathering evidence, they were working their own angle. They filed complaints against me with the county, claiming I was violating zoning laws on my newly purchased land. They accused me of disrupting the visual harmony of the valley. One even accused me of intimidation, completely flipping the script. It was like a game of chess, and every move I made, they tried to block. I wasn't just fighting for my dog's memory anymore. I was fighting for people too afraid to raise their voice. And somewhere in the background, the man who pulled the trigger that day. He hadn't disappeared. No, he was still around, and I had a feeling I hadn't seen the last of him. The tension in the valley reached a boiling point. Every time I stepped outside, I could feel eyes watching me behind blinds, across fences, from slowly passing cars. It wasn't just paranoia. The HOA had started holding secret meetings off the official calendar in one of the board members' garages. I wasn't supposed to know, but word got out through someone on the inside. She didn't give her name, just slipped a note under my gate that read, "They're planning something big. Be ready." That same week, a drone started hovering near my property line. At first, I brushed it off, maybe just a hobbyist. But then it came back, again and again, always hovering low, slow, circling. I reported it, but no one followed up. Not the HOA, not even local enforcement. That's when I realized I wasn't just being watched. I was being tested, pushed. Then one night, just past midnight, I woke up to motion alerts from the cameras. On the screen, 4 figures in hoodies were walking my fence line. No words, just slow, measured steps. One of them pointed directly at the camera. They didn't break in. They didn't need to. Their message was clear. We know where you live. We're not backing down. At the next county zoning meeting, where I was scheduled to speak, half the room showed up in HOA polos. They sat together, front row, arms crossed, staring. And when I got up to share what I'd uncovered about the corruption, the intimidation, the illegal contracts, they started whispering loudly, interrupting, trying to drown me out. One even stood up and accused me of destroying the spirit of the neighborhood, but I kept going. Because by now, it wasn't just about me. This was about justice, and I could feel the walls starting to crack. They were desperate, and desperate people do dangerous things. I knew the climax was close. I didn't know how far they'd go to stop me. Just when I thought I had seen the worst of it, a new twist hit me completely out of nowhere. A letter arrived, certified mail, from a private law firm representing the HOA. They were suing me. The claim? Defamation, harassment, and unlawful interference with HOA operations. Basically, they were trying to silence me through the courts. It wasn't just a scare tactic. They had built an entire case using twisted narratives and cherry-picked facts, painting me as the aggressor. And tucked inside the packet was the real kicker: a demand to forcefully annex my land back into their HOA boundaries. According to them, I had disrupted the long-standing harmony of the community. I knew this wasn't just about money or property anymore. This was war over control, and they were willing to rewrite reality to win it. The craziest part? The man who shot my dog, he was now listed as a key witness in their lawsuit, claiming I had threatened him and provoked the original incident. They were rewriting history and trying to drag the legal system into it. That's when I realized their plan: bury me in paperwork, bleed me dry in court, and smear my name until no one believed a word I said. But then, something unexpected happened. A former board member, someone I had never spoken to, showed up at my door. He looked nervous, kept glancing over his shoulder, but he came in and dropped a flash drive on my table. "I can't keep quiet anymore," he said. "What they're doing? It's worse than you think." Then he left. No explanation, no small talk. I opened the files that night. Audio clips from private meetings, secret votes, plans to target me, and most chilling of all, discussions about using private investigators to dig into my past, to find something they can use. This wasn't just a battle for land anymore. It was a full-blown cover-up, and I had just stepped into the heart of it. I spent the next 2 days going through every file on that flash drive. The deeper I dug, the clearer it became. This wasn't just some power-hungry HOA board. This was a network of shady dealings that stretched years back. Misused funds, backdoor deals, and calculated retaliation against anyone who didn't fall in line. Armed with this evidence, I contacted an investigative reporter who had covered local government corruption before. I handed over the files and told him everything. Within a week, a bombshell exposé hit the front page of the city paper. HOA corruption scandal uncovered in Quiet Valley community. That same morning, the lawsuit against me was suddenly dropped. No warning, no explanation. Just gone. It didn't take long to find out why. Several board members resigned overnight. The man who shot my dog. He was arrested not for that day, but for impersonating a licensed officer, and worse, for being involved in an off-the-books security contract tied to other legal issues. Turns out he had a long history of complaints that the HOA kept buried. Neighbors, who once kept their heads down, started coming forward. One by one, they told their stories: wrongful fines, threats, illegal foreclosures. The community finally saw the truth. At the next county meeting, with standing room only, a motion was passed to permanently dissolve the HOA's authority in the area. People cheered. Some even cried. After years of fear, they were finally free. But just when I thought it was all over, I got a message from the reporter. He found something in the files I hadn't noticed: a signed permit, years old, showing the original development deal for the valley had been pushed through using forged environmental impact reports. And the name on the bottom? The lawyer now representing a brand new development company, trying to buy the valley from me in secret. The battle I thought I'd won. It might have just been the beginning. I didn't sell the valley. Not for any price. After everything that had happened, I knew it wasn't just about land anymore. It was about keeping something honest intact. That forged permit. We turned it over to the state inspector's office, and an investigation was opened into the entire development firm. The same law firm that once threatened me was suddenly backpedaling, now claiming they were unaware of the history tied to the valley. The truth was, they got caught. And this time, no one was going to let it slide. The reporter's story reached further than we expected. People from other communities started reaching out, sharing similar HOA horror stories. It became clear that this wasn't just a local issue, it was part of something much bigger. And while I didn't set out to be anyone's example, it felt right to help others understand their rights to speak up and push back when something doesn't feel right. As for the valley, I made it a public access space. Trails, open meadows, quiet spots for families to enjoy without fear of fines or threats. No gates, no power tripping boards, just open land for everyone. The same stretch where I once walked my dog is now full of life again. Kids playing, folks walking their pets. Even a few neighbors who once kept their distance now wave and stop to talk. The air feels lighter. I still think about my dog every time I walk that path. His memory is what started all of this. And though I wish he was still with me, I know he's the reason I kept going. So if there's one thing I've learned, it's This sometimes the fight you didn't ask for becomes the one that changes everything. And sometimes that fight is worth it.